The red and blue flashes hit my front porch like a silent explosion, painting the railing in streaks of panic. Deputies were shouting for someone to stand down, and for a second, I honestly thought they were here for me. Through the window, I saw Mara Cunning, my neighbor, my walking migraine, and the self-appointed HOA president pounding on my front door, screaming that I had stolen her house. My house. The house my late aunt left me. The house I'd rebuilt with these same tired hands. And as I stood there, half frozen and half boiling with disbelief, the craziest thought crossed my mind. "This is really happening," she finally snapped. If you'd told me years ago that retirement in rural Colorado would lead to police cars, forged documents, and a woman insisting the law of the land bent to her HOA, I would have laughed in your face. But that morning nobody was laughing. I moved to Pine Elk Valley after 35 years in the New York Fire Department, 35 years of chaos, smoke sirens, and loss. I wanted peace, quiet room to breathe. My Aunt Ruth left me her old farmhouse, a 1940s place with redwood beams and a wraparound porch, the kind of home where you can hear wind humming through the trees and feel your lungs loosen for the first time in decades. That's all I wanted, a life that finally felt mine. And for the first year it was perfect. I fixed fences, planted new grass, restored the porch. I was healing literally. But peace, I've learned, doesn't die quietly. Sometimes it gets murdered. It started the day a beat-up trailer sputtered onto the empty parcel next door. Out stepped Mara, oversprayed blonde hair, sunglasses the size of dinner plates, and a permanent frown, like she disapproved of the air itself. She dragged out some lawn chairs, a kiddie pool, a stereo, blasting some unholy country pop remix, and unleashed her 2 kids who ran screaming across the dirt like caffeinated raccoons. Still I tried. I waved. I said hello. I even offered apples from the orchard. She smiled that tight, judgmental smile. "How many rooms you got in that house?" "4, I said. "For just you." Her eyes widened like I'd confessed a felony. That was the first crack. The second happened when she casually announced she was the HOA president of a subdivision across the dirt road. Technically, she said, our HOA covers the whole valley. Even your parcel might fall under our jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, the way she said it, like she was sheriff of Pine Elk Valley, made my skin crawl. I politely told her my land was private, pre-HOA, recorded independently. She didn't like that answer. In fact, she took it as a personal challenge. The next few weeks, she became my unsolicited inspector. Anytime I stepped outside, mowing, painting, trimming trees there, she was arms crossed. "That paint color isn't HOA approved. Your grass is 3 inches too long. You need to remove that compost bin. Violates aesthetic standards." Aesthetic standards. We lived in a valley with more pine trees than people. I ignored her. She escalated. Letters taped to my mailbox, courtesy notices, citations, fines, everyone printed on cheap HOA letterhead. It would have been funny if she weren't dead serious. Then came the moment I realized she wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous. One Saturday morning, she walked right up onto my porch with a folder and a fake sweet smile. "Gary," she said, "your house is too big for one person. I have 2 kids who need space. How about we swap? My trailer is more than enough for a man living alone." I laughed. "Big mistake." The sweetness vanished. "You're selfish," she snapped. "You don't deserve a house like this." I turned and went inside before I said something I'd regret. And that's when the war officially began. She glared at me any time I walked outside. Her kids trampled my vegetable patch. Someone even tried peeling bark off my peach tree. When I told them to stop, she stormed out screaming, "Don't yell at my children. They can play wherever they want." I started keeping a journal, dates, times, actions. Old firefighter habit. And thank God I did. Because one afternoon, after a day of fishing, I came home to the words, "Promise to me," spray painted across my garage in huge red letters. My blood ran cold. Neighbors later said she'd been telling people I promised her the house out of goodwill and then backed out. The next day, a letter appeared in my mailbox, a typed agreement saying I had gifted her my property. No notarization. Half the words spelled wrong. Looked like it had been typed by a teenager in detention. I took it straight to a local attorney, Jana Whitfield. She laughed. "This isn't even close to legal," she said. "But people like her escalate. Keep everything." I took her advice, installed trail cameras, motion lights, started gathering evidence, because deep down I knew she wasn't done. And I was right. She started live streaming from my property line, telling Facebook I was armed hostile and refusing HOA safety inspections. HOA safety inspections. What does that even mean? The comments were full of people calling me a danger to the community. Comments from people who had never met me. People who didn't know a quiet retired firefighter from anyone else. I tried confronting her once. "Mara, get off my land." She turned the camera toward me, smirking. "Oh, he's threatening me. You all saw that." That's when I realized her goal wasn't just control, it was manipulation. Weeks passed. Letters kept coming. Cars from her HOA drove by slowly like surveillance vans. Anonymous notes slid under my door. "You don't belong here. HOA will take this property soon." My peace dissolved. My sleep disappeared. I began to ask myself the question that almost broke me. Is it worth staying? Should I just leave, sell the place, let her win? It wasn't fear, it was exhaustion. The constant pressure of someone watching, waiting, pushing. Then came the first big crack in her armor. My trail cam caught her trespassing clear as day, stepping into my orchard with a clipboard snapping photos. I took the footage to the sheriff's office. Deputy Lawson gave her a formal warning. I thought that might stop her, not even close. The next morning, 2 guys in orange vests were hammering a property lien sign into my yard, claiming I owed over $1,200 in HOA dues. "There is no HOA here," I snapped. "Lady told us otherwise," one muttered before they ripped the sign back out and sped away. That's when I knew she wasn't just delusional, she was willing to forge legal documents. Jonna drafted a cease and desist letter citing Colorado HOA statutes. Mara tore it up in her driveway like a toddler ripping homework. Then at 4 a.m. one night my motion camera pinged. Mara in the dark whispering to someone. A second figure stepped into frame. They started marching toward my porch. I called 911. Within minutes, deputies arrived and dragged her off my property. She screamed the whole way, "You can't stop me, Gary. The truth will come out." The truth did come out, but not the way she wanted. A week later, county surveyors showed up. Turned out her trailer wasn't even on her own land. She'd been squatting on a rancher's property, Thomas Avery, a man who owned half the Eastern Valley. He showed up in a wide-brimmed hat, knocked on her trailer door, and said in the calmest voice I've ever heard, "Ma'am, you're on my land. You have 30 days to vacate." Mara laughed in his face. "I'm the HOA president. This is community property." He didn't even blink. "Ma'am, my deed is older than your HOA." That's when the panic hit her. She started filing complaints everywhere, zoning, environmental, county clerk. All of them tossed out. Finally, the court ordered her to leave the land. She unraveled fast, lost control, screamed at me in the parking lot after the hearing. "You embarrassed me. You're part of this conspiracy." I didn't have to say anything. Her own actions were destroying her. But the real explosion came when she tried weaponizing the police. One calm Tuesday morning, 3 patrol cars rolled into my yard, lights flashing, deputies stepping out with hands near their holsters. "Sir, we received a report of a squatter refusing to vacate this residence. Are you armed?" I almost choked. A squatter. "This is my house." Behind them, Mara shrieked, "That's him! He broke in weeks ago." Deputy Lawson, thank God, was among them. I handed him my deed, tax receipts, everything. He turned to Mara. "Ma'am, do you have any legal proof this home belongs to you?" I have a letter." "A letter," he repeated, "is not a deed." She went pale. He warned her for misuse of 911, told her the next time would mean charges. She retreated for a week. Then she came back through her friend Tina Mallory, who suddenly appointed herself interim HOA president. Tina sent letters, citations, violations claiming my property fell under something called visual impact jurisdiction. I swear these people invent laws like they're writing fan fiction. Then one night, Tina and 2 HOA volunteers showed up with flashlights inspecting my fence at almost 2 a.m. My camera caught everything. Lawson rolled in, wrote them all up for trespass, and told Tina, "Step on this property again, and I'll arrest you myself." That might have ended it. But villains don't bow out quietly. The HOA, what was left of it, filed a lawsuit against me for defamation and obstruction of community governance. I walked into the courtroom with Jana. Mara and Tina sat across the aisle looking like villains in a low-budget soap opera. When the judge asked Mara to present her evidence, she gave a speech about spiritual inheritance and community-based ownership. The judge blinked slowly. "Miss Cunning, that is not how property law works." Then Jana dropped the binder police reports, forged documents, fake filings, 911 logs, video evidence. It hit the table like a gavel. The judge dismissed their lawsuit instantly, then approved our countersuit. $25,000 in damages. Restraining orders. Permanent ban on contacting me or filing anything involving my property. A legal knockout. Tina resigned from the HOA the next day. Mara moved counties. The sheriff personally supervised the HOA being dissolved. And I didn't celebrate. I didn't cheer. I didn't toast victory. I just walked back to my fence line, looked out at the valley, felt the cold breeze cut across the grass, and finally let out a breath I'd been holding for over a year. Everything was quiet, not the fragile temporary quiet, the real kind, the kind you earn. Because in the end, justice didn't need to shout. It just needed time. And what did I learn from the whole thing? Never underestimate how far an entitled person will go, and never underestimate what calm evidence and the law can do in return.